Hello, my name's Graham Cluley. You may know me from the AI Fix and Smashing Security podcasts. Dare I say it, I'm a bit of a veteran of the cybersecurity industry. For over 30 years now, I've been working in computer security. So I guess you could say it's all my fault. After all, shouldn't I have fixed all this by now, for goodness sake? Never mind, because today it's my real pleasure to welcome all of you to the Qualys Cyber Risk Series. To be or not to be? Patch is the question. I'll be your host today, and so thanks very much for joining. The Qualys Cyber Risk Series happens every quarter and offers a series of dynamic conversations that provide security practitioners with actionable, data-driven perspectives and advice. Now, we've got a great lineup of speakers today. I'm really excited to introduce them to all of you, and we'll be discussing all things patch management today, the challenges, the risks, the rewards, and hear from industry experts with some real best practices. As you're tuning in, please feel free to submit your questions in the Q&A function, and they will be addressed as they come in by a Qualys team member. We'll try to respond to as many questions as possible, and any questions we aren't able to get to will be addressed by a Qualys team member after the event. Now, in today's digital world, where our lives and our businesses are increasingly intertwined with technology, the concept of patch management may not be the most exciting topic of conversation. However, it is a critical practice that often acts as the unsung hero of cybersecurity. Managing patches manually can be time-consuming and error-prone, especially in large organizations. Well, thankfully, there are patch management tools and software solutions available that can automate many of these tasks, making the process more efficient and reliable. And that's what you need, because the last thing you want is a poorly handled patch being worse than the thing it's actually trying to fix. Now, the other week, we saw just how badly things can go wrong. CrowdStrike, a cybersecurity firm with a good reputation for stopping hackers from bringing down computer systems, they pushed out an update which brought down computer systems. Oh dear. In fact, around 8.5 million Windows computers around the world are thought to have been taken down by a Duff update. That's less than 1% of all the Windows machines worldwide, but the impact was significant because many enterprises were using CrowdStrike to protect systems that are essential for critical services. It was a much bigger problem than, say, the WannaCry or the NotPetya ransomware attacks. Several US airlines, notably United, Delta, American Airlines, they grounded their planes around the globe. TV stations went off air. Hospital operations were cancelled. PCs entered a death loop. They showed a blue screen of death upon boot up, making them essentially unusable and really tricky to fix. Now, some people compared it to a cyber attack. I'm not sure that's entirely fair. I mean, sure, it had the same impact as a cyber attack, but it wasn't intentional. It wasn't malicious. But in some ways, it was a security incident. You see, the problem involved a communications channel, one that had been explicitly trusted by you to send a supposedly trustworthy update, a patch, directly into your computer's operating system kernel. But it was suddenly sending something that was untrustworthy instead. It may not have been a deliberate criminal attempt to break computer systems, but it caused about as much harm as a very, very successful cyber attack. Now, to its credit, CrowdStrike determined what the problem is. They devised a fix within half an hour or so, but the computers were still broken and they couldn't automatically fix themselves. Someone had to physically go round to computers to reboot them and attempt to revive them so they were up and running again. That's not hard for one or two computers, but if you have thousands, or if they're in remote locations, well, life just got an awful lot trickier. So the CrowdStrike outage was clearly very serious and impacted millions of people. Thankfully, it's not that common. We don't encounter that kind of disaster every day. And that's why it was the top news story in the mainstream media for days. What we do encounter every day are more and more vulnerabilities being discovered. Vulnerabilities that you ideally want to patch against. And with so many vulnerabilities in existence, how do you prioritize what hole needs to be plugged first? And this is a real challenge for organizations. The sheer scale of the vulnerability problem, tens of thousands of new vulnerabilities discovered every year. Some estimates, I think I saw something like 100 new vulnerabilities every day. Huge number of vulnerabilities coming out. And a vulnerability doesn't have to be a software vulnerability, can also be a misconfiguration. And those are just the vulnerabilities we know about. There are other vulnerabilities that can lurk unseen, unnoticed for literally years and years, but could be exploited by malicious hackers at any time. A lot of people cling on to this belief that if software is open source and the code can be checked, that it's somehow guaranteed that bugs will be found and stamped out quickly. And yet, time and time again, we discover that's not the case. The time between a vulnerability being introduced into software and it finally being discovered inside the software can take an extraordinarily long time. Now, during the course of today, we're going to hear from some great knowledgeable experts all about how we can tackle the patch challenge to ensure that we are staying secure and effective. And while it may not be the most glamorous aspect of cybersecurity, patch management is a fundamental practice that can significantly reduce your risk of cyber attacks and ensure the stability and reliability of your systems.